So I wanted to hop on here and give you this piece of content because I think the majority of people believe that this grind, that saying rise and grind, it doesn't exist unless you're willing to put in the work. So what that means is that you cannot just sit back and just wait for things to come to you. You can't. People think that they are just all of a sudden just one day just going to wake up happy. Oh, well, it'll come in the right time. Yeah, it will. Like, things do happen in this world. There's a universal synergy that's going on behind the scenes that you will get helped at the right time when it is your time. But what you could proactively be doing is going after it and getting up and putting forth the effort and not being on your heels and waiting for these things to happen. That's the difference between the people that are at the top and and then the people that just kind of sit back and just lull through life. Now we're on this upward journey of a mountain, and I think everybody's kind of going up the mountain. Everybody has different paths that they're going for, and you don't want to be the idiot running around on the mountain telling everybody that they're going the wrong way. Oh, that's the wrong way to the top. That's the wrong way to the top. That's what a lot of people do. A lot of people do that in life. They tell you, oh, you're going the wrong way, or you're doing the wrong thing. But they're not focusing on themselves because they're too worried about everybody else. And then that's why they're inevitably never going to get to the top. Now, the people that actually do try to start out in the beginning, it's hard. It's hard. That's what I'm going through right now. It's hard at the bottom, when you're just starting out and you're realizing, changing your mentality, changing your habits and all these things. Because you have everybody that's trying to tell you to try to keep you down because they don't want you to get ahead of them. They don't want to do that. Your friends don't want you to do that. Some of your family members might not want you to do that. But the thing is, though, is that you got to kind of break free from all that and realize that you have it in here, and that's the difference. And let me kind of step back a second, because I think what a lot of people do is that they always tell you, you just got to work, and everything's just going to come. But what does that really mean? Because when I first started, on this journey a couple years ago, is that I didn't know really what that meant. I just would just say, well, does that mean I just kind of get up and just wake up and then, it's going to happen? So I didn't really know. So it wasn't until I really started to learn and, learn from the people that have been starting from, the middle class, that weren't the people that started maybe with the trust funds or with mom and dad's money, or they inherited money or whatever. But the people that actually started from the bottom and built something, I started studying those people and have been studying them and continue to study them and figure out what are they doing differently that I'm doing, or what can I do differently that they're doing that I can do for myself. And what that really has shown me is given me the confidence to then say, if they did it, they didn't come from anything. All they did that separated them from the pack was consistency. And that is just getting up every day and running the day rather than being on your heels and waiting for things to happen and being proactive. So you want to be, reactive. You want to be proactive. That's the difference. And then once we started adopting those things, that's when I started to see slight changes. So I think the number one thing, I touched on this point in the past, is getting happy first. I think that's the first step. But I think secondly is you need to start to break the habits of which your day-to-day activities have gotten to you to the point of where you are today. So there were studies, this guy Tim Ferriss, that I saw him on an interview on impact theory with Tom and what he's doing. He said he did everything opposite for 24 hours. Or for 48 hours, I think it was. And he did everything opposite. He just said if he normally would have said yes, he would have said no. Or if he had said he wouldn't have typically had engaged somebody on the street, he made sure to do it. And because he knew that within that 48-hour timeline, he could turn things around. You know what I mean? It wasn't like there was like a life-altering decision that he had to make that he couldn't, make it true after those 48 hours were up. So the purpose of that is just changing your thinking, changing and seeing, being tactful, being strategic, seeing what works and what doesn't. I think that's the biggest thing is when you're starting out on a journey is to do this, is to learn what, kind of what your skill set is, what you're good at, what you're not. Because I think a lot of people say like the fake it till you make it type thing. That doesn't work. It just doesn't. You really have to hone in on your positives and go for it and go all in on them. That's the difference. And everybody has something. They do. It could be the most minute thing, but if you turn it into something, it can be all the much better. So I think that's the biggest thing to kind of key in on is what separates, is looking at what separates, the super successful people, and that's in whether it's financial, family, whatever it may be. What are they doing differently that you could be doing? And then once you kind of identify that, that's when you can go out and start making proactive changes to yourself and change those relentless habits to be able to get to the next level and start moving forward. Because until you start doing it at the small, minute, micro level, until you do that, it's not going to make a bit of difference. Michael Jordan, I was listening to a podcast with Tim Grover. Michael Jordan started out every practice with just doing chest passes. Chest passes, the most basic, most elementary thing that we all learn in freaking, in church league basketball, or if you weren't in church league, then whatever league it was on the street, whether any sort of organized team, that you were on when you first started in elementary school, you learned the chest pass, the most basic thing. And that's what this guy did at the top of the top tier of professional athlete for the sport, for the game of basketball, was starting out the practice with chest passes. So it's those things that he did consistently every single day that obviously the reason why he got to the best and why he's one of the greatest. It's obviously controversial because, with LeBron and all, but that's what got him to the top of his level. That's why he is one of, if not the greatest basketball player of all time. He's personally my favorite because I grew up with him. So he's personally my favorite. I think he's better than LeBron, but that's me. But that's a different topic. But the theory behind that is that do things different consistently every single day. And if you can do the small things consistent and those become just habitual in a day-to-day routine, you don't even think about it, that's when you'll start to evolve and other things will start to come into that repetition and that habitual learning that you're going to be doing over time that are eventually just going to become part of you. You're not even going to think about it. It's just going to come natural. Just like it is when people, do something awesome. They're like, how'd they do that? How'd you do that? And they always, a majority of them, professional, they're always, I just did it. Because it just comes so natural. They're not thinking about it in the moment. And that's where we're all striving to be, right? That's where we're all trying to be. But it starts at the beginning. So if you can't do the small things, the chess passes in life, so to speak, if you can't do those right, then how are you going to be able to do the big things and take on the big problems and handle the big things? You're not. It's impossible, because if you can't handle the small stuff, you're not going to be able to handle the big stuff. So it's starting out small, it's starting out consistent, and it's starting today. It really is. It's no more putting off. It's really not. They always say the first thing you should do if you don't know what to do is just go to the gym. Everybody knows The Rock, right? What's the famous thing he said? He knew he was 14 years old. He had just been kicked out of his house. There was an eviction letter on his door, and wherever he was living, I think he was in Hawaii. And he knew right then and there, the only thing that he can ever control is his own two hands. And look what the man has done. I mean, talk about international fame. I mean, he stamped his note on this world, and he's going to leave a phenomenal legacy behind him. Look what he's doing. He's carving a phenomenal, blazing a trail. But he knew that the only thing he can control was his hands. So the same thing goes with this. If you don't know where to start with yourself. That's where everybody, I think, always tries to go wrong. That's where I did, at least. I went somewhere else. I was always looking somewhere else. Got to figure all these other things out. Fix these other things. No, I got to fix myself first, just like you do. If you're watching this video, there's obviously a void or a need, or maybe a bit of inspiration that hopefully you're looking for. And I don't care if it's 1, 100, a million, whatever, but people that view this or see it, but it's really just, it's being consistent and wanting to start. That's the biggest thing. It's just starting. And if you don't know where to start with your own two hands. That's it. That's all I got.